how do Navy SEALs or just Special Operations Command overall select their weapons?
You're in the ocean more, or you're coming across the beach more, and you're getting sand and things like that in your operating system, and it's jamming your gun. Then those requirements come out to define a solution for an issue that you've been having. This is a very simple system, very, very, very reliable. The M4 was an awesome platform.
This is like a tank.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like any other platforms out there.
When you got a ruck in 5 clicks, 20 clicks,
Yes.
that weight plays every bit of a factor. So I'm pretty sure a 5.56 gun carrying, a full combat loadout's gonna be way better than carrying an SR-25 any day of the week.
Welcome back to Class Firearms, guys. Kaya over here with Jason.
What's going on, folks?
And we've got our friend Jim Foreman. Jim, thanks a lot for stopping by, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about how do Navy SEALs or just Special Operations Command overall select their weapons. How they get the guns and also which guns they choose to kind of go do their stuff, right? And Jim's going to kind of explain that to us. And we've already talked about this prior to turning the cameras on. Anything that's public knowledge is what Jim is going to talk about. That's
Correct.
about it, right? So with that being said, Jim, quickly talk to people, just tell people who you are.
I did 27 years in the SEAL teams and retired about 6 years ago. And now I'm working for Faro Concepts. I'm a consultant with Zenith Firearms, and I'm also a part owner of Active Crisis Consulting.
Exactly. And if you guys haven't seen our footage, me and Jason and the guys over here went to a training session with Active Crisis, and it was fantastic. We've got some videos on this channel, so definitely check it out if that interests you. But that being said, Jim, all right, so, and Jason, you got some knowledge on this one too. Mm-hmm. Whenever military, wants to go get a new gun, they've got certain guidelines on solicitation. Tell us about that process a little bit, and tell us why.
Yeah, so basically it's all about requirements. So we have the headshot that has a requirement, and we also have the operators that want something specific, and then they just juggle out to see if we already have something that meets that requirement, or if we need something new, or if it's going to be something just like for the recce guys or for the breachers, like a shotgun or something like that. So that ends up when we have probably, and this is all soft, special forces, and even in the conventional, that we have a variety of weapons we could choose from. And some are mission specific, like for the MP5 was very specific for shipboarding, and I'm sure for aircraft takedowns, things like that.
There's your MP5, good old MP5 right here with a PTR can over here. Love this thing. It's pretty cool.
Very trustworthy, 9mm. And we had the MP5N, which is the naval version, which made it a little bit more easier to work in the maritime environment.
The MP5 was one of the weapons that obviously you used. It's been out there forever.
Right.
But I'm going to go back a little bit. When you say the operators kind of want certain things and the command wants certain things,
right,
whatever. And what are some of the criterias? Like you said, MP5N, that was better for a maritime environment. Like, what's the difference? Why? All of that. So people can understand that better.
Yeah, so basically it had a coating that helped it not rust as easy, so the MP5N. And it just was very easy for us to clean, and basically it was just more of a maritime weapon just for the fact that it didn't rust as easy and had that coating. So we could swim it in, we could be on the side of a boat and getting splashed on, and it's not going to affect the operating system as some of the other weapons might be affected by.
Yeah, so any controls differences? It was just
no, it was exactly the same.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the only thing that I know about the MP5N being different is just the little pins here on the block on the rear whenever you put on the end plate if you wanted to change out stocks or anything like that. So that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that was the MP5N. So clearly, the regular MP5, and then due to some trial and error, you guys had the MP5
Navy spec.
Required.
Yes, and also operational requirements, meaning if you're having issues, like if you're in the jungle environment and your weapons are going down, or you're in the desert, something's happening, like the fine dust that's over there, and like Afghanistan and places like that, or you're in the ocean more, or you're coming across the beach more, and you're getting sand and things like that in your operating system, and it's jamming your gun, then those requirements come out to define a solution for an issue that you've been having.
Right.
Okay.
And to piggyback on that, when it comes to like selecting these firearms, you're talking about requirements. Everything is all about capabilities, right?
Yeah.
Teams that comes to the people who literally make the decision say, hey, we need these type of capabilities. What can you come up with? Normally they'd send that over to Crane, Indiana, and if they can't put their brains together, then they would go ahead and solicit out for open contracts to then be submitted.
Submitted for a brand new, basically, platform at that point. So, Jim, when you've obviously into a bunch of situations. If you look at this gun from the front to back, as a person who has seen a lot of harsh environments, combat, all that stuff, what are some of your requirements? Because you were also a part of, you were a command, like in a way,
Yep.
right? So what are your requirements and why? Let's start from here. Like what kind of flash hider or muzzle device you'd want?
I wasn't too worried about the flash hider. We all had flash hiders, but it was more like whether you have a suppressor or not. You know,
Okay.
so the suppressor was awesome because like we want to be as quiet as possible. So that was one of the things that we wanted. Also the barrel and the accuracy of the weapon. So we wanted accuracy, and we also wanted be able to shoot a variety of bullet systems and things like that. So starting from the barrel, I want something reliable, accurate, and could handle a suppressor.
Okay. Moving on to, obviously front sight gas block versus free floating handguard. What are your preferences and why?
Free floating is more accurate, as we all know. And this is an old system right here. We got the Picatinny rail.
I'll actually, can you get that H&K 416? Yeah. That's going to be a good comparison right there. This is like the original M4, and then you guys switched over to H&K 416.
Yep. Correct.
Something close enough. So, okay, go on, free floating. You were going with
Yep,
that?
so that's this right here.
Yeah.
The 416 is awesome because it handled a lot of things that this one didn't, which it would jam quite often if it was with the dust and the dirt and the sand. And the 416 just had a beefier operating system. And they made it super easy. Like if you take out the bolt, you could actually use the bolt to take apart the rest of your weapon without tools.
Gotcha.
German engineering.
Yeah,
Exactly. This is a direct impingement, so compared to this, is a short stroke piston driven system. So it's got a piston up here versus the gas is going straight into the bolt. Right there.
Yeah, this is a very simple system, very, very, very reliable. And especially in the water, again, like I talked about before, all you had to do, if you're coming over the beach, is just tape up your barrel, your the bolt front plate, and just tape your mag, make sure it didn't come out, and you could just swim your gun and have it lubed up, and you could just shoot right through the tape. And so the whole idea is that you don't want to get sand in it. But even if you got a little bit of sand in here, this weapon still fired.
Fired just fine.
Yeah.
That's
a testament. Piston.
yeah.
Superior over the beach.
Yeah, and it was easier to clean.
There you go.
I think that's a big one, right? So once you get your gun real dirty, that's when you start having reliability issues, right? Especially couple that with like sand, dirt, water, salty water, all that. So I'm assuming that's like a recipe for disaster. So piston system definitely helps you out with that. And as you were telling me just off camera, having a full free-floating rail, you get more stuff on here.
Yep.
Yeah, you're able to attach a bunch of lasers and lights and whatever else you want to attach. So that's pretty good. And that's
and then with this one, whatever system you're going with, you'd have a variety of uppers. So you'd have like, possibly one lower and a variety of uppers.
There you go.
So
multi-caliber.
Yeah.
Recce,
or
you're doing
sometimes for the recce guys.
Yep.
For the recce guys, and then everybody else just had, you had like a 10.5, 14, and sometimes a 16 inch. So you can switch back and forth. So even just a standard operator for all the services had a variety of weapon systems or lengths, different attachments to choose from.
Gotcha. Very, very cool. And moving over to the lower receiver, upper receiver, any specific preference on the trigger for you when it comes to, again, I'm not talking about like you go to flat range and shooting. I'm literally talking about like operationally, like that's durable, efficient, all that. Like what's your preference?
The 416, the stock model I thought was awesome.
There you go.
Just the way it came out the door was durable. And
Reliable
it was,
trigger?
Super reliable, yeah.
Okay.
So most people didn't change anything on that.
Now let's talk about that. The freedom of what a tier 1 operator can do to their weapon system or platform, right? Let's dive into that, because a lot of people say, oh, well, these guys are in, tier 1 units, they can pick whatever they want to do. There's pretty much a spec where you guys come into line, and then obviously depending on what your job is and what you want to do, you kind of to step it up from there. So
right, yeah. So for our recce guys or snipers, we definitely want a lighter trigger.
Right.
So we have our armorers. We just take it down to them, and they soup it up any way we want. So everybody has that option to modify a little bit of what you have to make it suit your needs.
there you go.
Within still the requirements. that
Exactly.
you're-
Yeah,
okay.
you're not like doing anything too crazy, and it's always approved by the armorer.
Okay.
Okay. And is that okay? That's a good one. What about other guns? Right? You're like, hey, you know what? I want to use a different gun because I'm better with this. I like it better. Whatever.
So
Are you
it
allowed?
depends on what your job is. Like I said, so a breacher, you're going to also have a shotgun.
Right.
You're going to have charges and things like that. And then for the recce guys, you're going to have a variety of different weapons. You may have a suppressed pistol. So we also have a variety of pistols to choose from, and you're going to make it mission specific. And if you're doing like more low vis operation, you're going to have something more concealable and things like that, including your primary weapon.
I mean,
Gotcha.
suppressed pistol? Are we talking like Mark 23 action?
Yeah.
Or like what? Like maybe a Glock or something like that? I know this was a OG. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that you're
Yeah.
OG, but
I
I'm just
mean-
saying, you know what I mean.
Are we not
Like,
talking about these?
Oh, there you go.
All right.
The 226?
Yeah.
No, not this one.
Yeah. So we 226 and the 239 were our two that we used, and super reliable pistols. And I mean, I shot that for 20 plus years, and it was awesome. And some of the things we like about it, there's no safety. The safety, you got the decock, which is awesome. You don't usually have that on a weapon system. So
Right here, you just
yep.
that's your little decocker. So that makes that trigger about 50 pounds. That's what it does.
Those are very special because just
Yeah.
due to the coating on them, especially over the beach stuff, this thing could really survive in saltwater environments. And to me, if anything could survive in a saltwater environment, it's good to go. So that's like one of the harshest.
harshest environments. If it can survive that, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that Mark 23 though. Now speaking of pistols, so this was your defensive pistol, and that was an offensive pistol. And why? Because I know that's what they
I don't
designate
know.
it
I'd
as.
say, yeah, I don't understand their designation. Probably because it had a suppressor.
It's huge. Like what is that?
Yeah. But like, I never used that weapon. It was just too big. The SIG did its job, and then we eventually switched to the Glock 19, and so we could actually switch back and forth. The last couple of years I was in, and I'm not sure if they still have access to both.
Gotcha. Yeah, Glock 19 can't go wrong with it. Obviously, P226, it's proven itself. Again, like Jason was saying, you're jumping with your rifle and your pistol into water. You swim in
Right.
through sand, and those things function just fine.
Yeah, I
Pass
mean,
test.
obviously you'd want to keep your weapon in a dry bag, something
Yeah.
that's worst case, to keep it wet and sand free. But if you did, like I said, there's often times where we're swimming in your weapon and you just want to have quick access to it. You don't have to zip it out
Yeah.
to protect yourself. Your recce guys or something like that are going to have their weapons pretty much ready to go as you come out of the water. And these are the perfect weapon systems, these newest ones, the 416, the SIG, and the Glock. We're good to go.
Gotcha. So overall, you guys have initially the command and the operators come up with certain needs. You guys select either see if you got it in the cage, armory,
Yeah.
or you just simply solicit a brand new platform, and then from there, you guys basically make your adjustments based on missions.
Yeah, we have, everybody pretty much has the same access to the weapons, and you just tailor it to your needs and your job, and then also the environment you're going into.
Gotcha. And here's why it's so important, some of these guns to be super beefy, like the 416 that you're talking about, how beefy it is. But let's give some credits to this one, even though you said this was jamming up. But what was your recce gun? You had a little
So
incident?
I'll say it didn't jam that much. My weapon didn't jam too much. So it was the M4 was an awesome platform. I'm just saying that when they went to the 416, you noticed a difference. And even on the spring system, it was just so much beefier, to cycle that
Oh, yeah.
bolt back.
I
You
think-
can tell just by shooting it, it's like, okay, this thing's solid.
Nobody can dispute this. If you grab an H&K 416 or MR55684 that I have, or the A1234 or MR27s, as soon as you grab it, you just instantly see This is like a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like any other platforms out there. The only thing that I can kind of compare this to, like a tank feeling, and it is the nice Armament SR25. Now you're familiar with this
Yep.
a little bit, right? When I grab this thing, this is another gun that makes me feel like this is an H&K, right?
Yep.
Oh, it's just so robust.
So that was a recce rifle choice for us. We had the SR25 308. Some guys carried that, and I, like we discussed before,
Yeah.
I'm more about the type of round that you use. So I was a big 5.56 guy with a different type of round.
Same here. I love the 5.56. You get more rounds on you, and you got decent range with it, decent terminal effects. Not saying better than obviously a 308, but it is still very decent.
Yeah.
And you're out there, you've seen it and done that, and it served you well.
Listen, when you got a ruck in 5 clicks,
Weight.
20 clicks,
Yes.
that weight plays every bit of a factor. So I'm pretty sure a 5.56 gun carrying, a full combat loadout is going to be way better than carrying an SR25 any day of the week.
You tell us, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, SR25 is a very accurate weapon.
Yeah.
Like I said, my Mark 12 had, like I said, I had it souped up quite a bit. It was pretty much a quarter-minute gun, 700-yard dope, and then with the round type I'm using, I'm getting good results.
Solid hits. That's pretty cool, man. And guys, check out obviously Active Crisis Consulting with Jim, Ferro Concept, Zenith Firearms. He's consulting there, so definitely check him out.